The mind can prove to be a very interesting place. At this very moment in time, your entire memory is based upon what you perceive has happened to you. But have you ever considered if any of your memories are false? Or even, what if the reality that you have experienced is different from the norm? Is there even a norm? Today, we're going to be discussing some interesting topics and theories surrounding the Mandela Effect. To begin, I want to present to you some background on the Mandela Effect and why it matters. Nelson Mandela is the late former president of South Africa. He served in office from May 10, 1994 to June 14, 1999, and was the first elected president of the country. 14 years later, on December 5, 2013, Mandela passed away at age 95 in his home in South Africa due to a respiratory infection. It is very unfortunate, but all in all, this is nothing out of the ordinary, right? Well, maybe not. Shortly after his death, when word spread of his passing, thousands of people all over the nation were shocked. They thought that he was already dead and had passed away in prison in the 1980s. Furthermore, they could even describe how he died, claiming it was due to tuberculosis. Now, there are many claims that people vividly remember seeing coverage of his death on television. If this were a small group of people, then it wouldn't be that out of the ordinary. However, the amount of people that believe this are in the thousands, and all of them still swear by the fact that he passed in the 1980s. Curious, I began some research. Why do people so vividly remember his death in the 1980s? The first thing that comes to mind is a misreport in the news. Even today across the country, we are faced with a fake news problem that many social networks and companies are trying to resolve. While things are a lot different now than they were in the 1980s, a false news report still could have happened, leading thousands of people who saw the broadcast to believe that reality. Another theory that comes to mind is what's now called the Mandela Effect. This idea stemmed from the very fact that people misremembered Mandela's death, and it's the idea that what we remember is different from what reality actually was. There are actually multiple other examples of this, with the most popular ones being the Bernstein-Bears controversy, the spelling of Fruit Loops and Febreze, and the Monopoly guy named Mr. Pennybags having a monocle. These are all examples that have come to attention following Mandela's death, and theories behind these themselves are numerous. Diving deeper seems to present even more questions than answers. A popular theory for this is that maybe at certain points in time, our reality collides with another, and instantaneously, without thought, we begin to exist in the other. A date that many people think this most recently happened was in 2012, coincidentally a year before Mandela had passed away in our reality, and there are claims as to why. People are stating that after 2012, time seems to be passing faster than before. They believe that time itself in the pre-2012 reality was more wholesome and felt much longer than this current perception of time in post-2012. This theory is known as the Ascension Theory, and I encourage you to look into it further. Another topic I want to touch on are the Google Trends for the term Mandela Effect. I looked up search trends for the term and found some interesting results. Now, before I analyze them, I want to explain to you what you're looking at. The graph in front of you shows trends based upon the search term's most popular time frame. The x-axis is the timeline, and the y-axis is popularity from 0 to 100%. To put it quite simply, if I look up, for instance, Snapchat, I'll see this. As you can see, Snapchat's most popular time frame was in July of 2016, which is why it peaks at 100. This means that, as an example, in August of 2014, Snapchat's search traffic was 30% of what it was at its peak in 2016. Remember this idea. Back to Mandela. First, after searching Mandela Effect on Google Trends, I found that there were inquiries on the topic from South Africa dating back to 2005, which is roughly 5 years before the term Mandela Effect was even created, but I'll get to that later. Even more striking is the fact that, as we can see, the term peaked popularity in November of 2016, roughly 3 years after he passed away. And we can see that in October of 2005, the search traffic for the term was 76% of what it was back in 2016. This is extremely strange, since Nelson Mandela did not actually pass away until 2013, and the term wasn't even created until shortly thereafter. Or was it? Intrigued, I performed a Google search on when the term was coined, and the website called MandelaEffect.com claimed that they created the site and the term in 2010. To verify, I went to the Internet Wayback Machine and found an archive from December of 2010, which, to my surprise, validated that fact. This presents the idea to me that this has been an ongoing curiosity for nearly the past decade and years before Mandela's death. Now, why were there search inquiries for the term Mandela Effect dating back to 2005? A loose theory that could explain this is that the term was coupled with something else. Since Mandela was the president of the country in the 1990s, maybe people were searching for Mandela's effects on South Africa or something related to that. If that's the case, then it would make perfect sense. However, if it's not, then this is ultimately a tricky situation, since we could be in different realities and not know it. One last point I want to cover that might intrigue you is this photo. It's a Google archive of a book titled English Alive, Western Cape Branch of the South African Council for English Education, South African Literature. In this book, that was published in 1991, it states that Nelson Mandela died on July 23, 1991. Now, this raises inconsistencies with what other people have claimed. Regarding this segment, I have 3 theories that could explain it. 1. We have crossed realities multiple times in the past. 2. There may have been a misinterpretation of facts in the book, or 3, this is a fictional story. Let's look at theory 1. This is an idea that we've been covering in this analysis, and it's something that likely could be true. There are countless claims of people misremembering things, and they could very well all point to a flip in timelines. Regarding the second theory itself, a misinterpretation of facts seems like a possibility. However, how could someone blatantly misrepresent a fact as big as this? I feel like it would be hard to mess that up as a published author, given Nelson Mandela's public status in the region back then, so this theory I will eliminate. For the third theory, I looked up the book series titled English Alive and found that it's essentially an anthology of poetry and prose. This solidifies this theory and lets us know that this book is indeed fictional. The Mandela Effect and its theories are all intriguing, and the many examples of it are astonishing. Subtle, everyday things can easily be remembered incorrectly, causing us to believe that we are going crazy since our mind is telling us that the past is different from what we actually remember. Or is it? All in all, I encourage you guys to do some research on this and let me know what you think is the case regarding the search trends and the crossing of realities. Do you, your parents, or grandparents remember Mandela's death in the 1980s, or did they hear nothing of it and only know about the 2013 version? Anyway, this was an analysis on the Mandela Effect. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did, and as always, if you have any suggestions or comments, feel free to leave them below. Until then, thanks for watching, and once again, good night.